Karen Creahan is waking us up to our truth as evolved spiritual beings. Her book, Are You in a Toxic Relationship with Yourself? Is the impetus for Karen to bring healing love and supportive energy through photographic images and a variety of modalities involving nature and energetics.
Terrific. I'm so glad to have you here. And the reason I wanted to invite you for a conversation, Karen, is you and I seem to resonate, especially when it comes to toxic systems, certainly toxic relationships. And that's what both of your books are sort of based on. And I know you didn't start out an author, you didn't plan to write on this topic. But in your work as an energetic healer, you were kind of led in this direction. So just tell me in a nutshell how you woke up to your abilities as a healer, and then how this led you to wake up from a system you were living in, or your daughter may have been living in, and
Yeah.
how you address that.
Yeah, well, it goes back quite a number of years, like first you're thinking you're living the life that you're meant to live, being the dutiful wife, the good mother, all that. And then you start saying there's got to be something more, there's got to be more to life. And then like you start exploring and you start seeing how you've done so much self-sacrificing, and that's like you don't even realize it. You think you're doing the right thing. So it's kind of like for me, my toxic relationship with myself was, really holding me back. But then when I saw my daughter go into a toxic relationship that was destroying her, it really made me have to learn and study, more about that. So I really researched, looked up so much information, things I never knew about, because you don't learn this in school. So I had started understanding all of this, but then also on the healing path, you start realizing that it's not like anything that is it's really to help you. It's like you have to experience something to want to move away from it, to want to like end it, to want it to be over. So like if we all lived in paradise, it's wonderful. Like we're all saying, why can't we just live in paradise? But it's you don't appreciate paradise if you haven't experienced the opposite end. And that's the whole thing about our soul's evolution, is that we just have chosen to come here, experience different things and evolve and return back to the energy of love. And that's really what I want to focus on more, is returning to the energy of love. But in order to do that, you have to understand the toxicity behind it.
And that you've been marinating in. It's just a natural standard. I mean, I relate to your awakening. My son, who, he was a really good, was a really good kid. Now he's a great man, but at 17, like I dropped him off from college to college, and I just went, oh, what was that all about? Like I just couldn't figure out how I had given so much of myself. And not just that, it was taking care of the family. Like I was also the breadwinner. And going back more in my ancestral line, I realized more than one woman was responsible for bringing in the bread for the family. I remember my paternal grandmother running around like a crazy person trying to keep it all together, and she was running a boarding house at the seashore so my father could get air for his asthma. And then I was doing the same thing, running from job to job and piecing it together so I could pay the mortgage and the property taxes and then get my son into college and blah, 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 blah. And then you see, yes, like you said, you wake up and you go, it's got to be different. And yes, this is a system that I've been entrained into, and I'm going to see how I can go from the inside out, which you've so beautifully done. And you took it on through your daughter and explored, and then it seems like you really turned it back, the reflection back to you, that flashlight black back to you. So you're no longer going from the outside in, meaning going to serve your daughter and what she's experiencing. No, now you're having to turn the flashlight truly inside to
Yes, and
really
also having
look.
her turn the flashlight inside also. because everybody has to realize the only way you're going to heal is you have to heal yourself. And it's like we can't change anybody as much as we want to. We can think if we give them enough love, they're going to change. And I think that has a lot to do with any type of toxic relationship. You think you can actually help them, but they have to help themselves. They have to be ready to. And it's so true what you were just saying. I love that word entrained because it starts from such a young age. Entrained, indoctrinated. It's just like everything that we're just, living, and we think that's the way it is. We think that that's the way it should be. And then we realize later on, it's like, no, there's other ways to live out there, and I even remember like TV shows growing up like the Brady Bunch, The Perfect Family, and there's like those different TV shows that like just show this idealistic family, and it's like you wish you had that, and then it's like and then like you go like you have your own home life and then you go to a friend's house and you see like they have a beautiful, loving relationship with their father or their mother, and it's just like, wow, it exists. It's out there, you know. So you just don't
Yeah.
want to ever blame anybody. So like that's what my books are about. They're really about don't blame the other person, don't hate the other person, um don't feel shame for letting yourself be in this situation. It's just gotta let it all go. Gotta let it all go.
Yeah, I think that eventually, and you can get free of it, but it is everyone's own process.
Oh
And
yeah.
I had to take a 3 year separation, I think, from my mom. And I pseudo did a similar thing with my father, although it was easier to just not be in contact because if you didn't reach out, he generally didn't reach out,
Right,
make the
yeah. I think
initial.
that's like a lot of men are like that.
But but it is absolutely integral to turn that boulder that you just got hit with over and look underneath and see what the gorgeous message is in all that mossy crap and dirt. But we do not want to go there. And also we're trained away from going there. We're told, no, we have to turn to this religious modality or we have to rely on what our principal at our school is saying. And we become like little soldiers and automatons inbred into these systems. Now, you mentioned books. I want you to tell us both the titles and a little log line on each because I want the viewers to know where they are and how they
Oh,
can reach that material when they want to go.
all right, well, thanks. The first one is called Letting Go of Toxic Relationships. And this was because this was for my daughter, like letting go, like understanding how do you do it? And you understand that it's also really made you very vulnerable, So it's just like I put it kind of in stages, like where you realize it and then you have to start taking the steps to separate, creating the boundaries, just like everything to be prepared for, like the whiplash back, as you try to free yourself from a relationship. And then, like, just how you have to start healing yourself because you've been made to now doubt yourself, question things, just like feel inferior. So, like, I kind of tried to break it up into all those steps on a way back to self-healing after you've been, in a relationship that's completely, degraded you. So that was the first book. And then I get some reviews and I read them just to see the feedback. And one of the people said, like, I wish the author would have wrote, like, why you return back to toxic relationships. And, I actually did have a little blurb, like one paragraph in the first book, but it was like, okay, let's dive into this deeper, and I became more vulnerable with my beliefs, understanding the spiritual path. Like I really didn't put that in the first book. The first book was like all the steps you need to like move away, heal yourself. But the second book was like, okay, well, let's understand it more. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from, childhood beliefs? Is it coming from ancestral? Is it coming from past lives? And I threw in past lives. And, I realized that a lot of people in America, they don't believe in past lives. Because when I've said it out loud, like you'll get that funny look, like, okay, but it's like everything influences us in this life. So I threw that in, and then I was trying to still be diplomatic. So I was putting in some scientific not, like evidence, facts, studies, saying, well, these many people believe in angels and these many people believe in ETs, and it's just like, of course they exist. How do they not exist? But there's people out there who don't believe in them, So it's like you don't want to like turn somebody off by saying it, like they'll say, oh, this is nonsense and toss the book aside. So I really try to make it so that people can actually consider all of the different thoughts and beliefs. And so the second book is Are You in a Toxic Relationship with Yourself? Because you don't realize all the things that are holding you back and why, and you think you're doing the right thing. That's the
Mhm.
ironic thing, is that you really think you're doing the right thing, and it's just like you later on you realize, wait a minute. Like I remember like when my daughter was getting out of college, I'm like, you got to get a full-time job with health insurance. You got to like do this, do that. And she tried that little corporate path for a little while and she absolutely hated it. And at one point we had a falling out, it's just because I was trying to do the right thing. I thought I was doing the right thing by telling her this is how life's got to be. And then later on, she opened my eyes up. So it's interesting how at some point in your life you actually learn from your children, and they really can open your eyes to things that you have no clue about, you know.
Yeah, when we were able to treat our children like living, being separate from ourselves, not an extension of me, but
Yeah.
and that they've come in with their own pathway they want to experience and their own healing they want to create. And I always bowed to that in my, to my son and really let him explore that. And sometimes it was pretty painful because I knew it was going to be ouch. But
Yeah.
that's not for me to say. And I think it really gives the other human an excellent chance to be themselves, truly. And then hopefully they get to adulthood with a little less muck to clear.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. With an open mind, and not feeling like a victim, because that's like you really don't ever want that victim energy, and it's easy to be in that victim energy, like this person got what I wanted, like, and you feel bad, but then you so like for my second book, like there's like a little subtitle, and the last part of the subtitle is um learn your own essence, your true essence, and this is important because we don't realize that we're such beautiful spiritual beings. And that's the real key, is that we are spiritual beings. So I just wanted people to understand that is like we're not these mere humans, like mere mortals. Like we've been made, humans have been made to really feel worthless, or like we're sinners, we're this, we're that. But it's like, no, like we're these wonderful spiritual beings that have such light to shine, and we dim them and they become so dim from childhood. And that's like needs to just like it needs to shine again. So that's really for me, that's the goal. That's the goal to these books. I really want people to, see this in themselves, and just realize that there's so much more than they might think they are.
So well said, Karen, and I'm really glad that you've put this content out. I want to go to your incredible healing abilities. I mean, your photos are amazing. All I need to do is look at your photo of some kind of flower or bee or whatever it is for the moment and just stare at it for 30 seconds. And I can
Hmm.
feel like the cells in my being shift, and some of that anger and blame and rage is like dissipating. And I did the same thing. There was another woman that did work similar, and I would have to literally, when I'd find myself awake in bed, I'd literally roll over, turn on my phone, and bring up one of her photos. Because otherwise, like I was off to the races with the insanity of my circumstances. So, talk a little bit about that and how you came to it.
Yeah, well, I've always loved nature, since I was a child. It was my refuge, from any kind of harsh schooling or anything like that. And from the earliest age when I had my first camera, I'd be taking pictures of flowers. And of course, back in those days, they didn't you couldn't zoom in on them up close and everything. But now it's like, with the digital photography, you can just take the most gorgeous pictures. And as I studied, like the first healing modality I studied was Reiki, because that's the most, accepted traditional healing that people have heard of. And, they talk all about the chakras. So you learn about the energy centers in your body, and each one is resonates with a specific color. And each color is different because it actually vibrates at a different frequency. Like the red is the slowest vibrational energy, while violet is the highest vibrational energy. So these colors that the flowers, are made of all over the place, they're healing us all the time. So as long as like we pay attention to them, we can receive healing from them. And that's like why I chose this nature shot because you to be in nature, like you have to be in nature just to heal. I mean, everything heals us, the trees, everything. So it's like when you are on the understanding that we do receive all this healing energy, because there's angels everywhere. The nature angels, they are going to like magnify that. They're going to work with you. They're going to like, if they see you watering flowers and loving plants, they're going to be like, okay, well, you're going to receive full benefit from it. So I've been like that. I've just been always admiring the flowers and, the nature angels, like they connect with me and they help me, they help me. They'll actually guide me like, all right, there's a flower over there. Take a picture of it. And I'm like, okay. So I take a picture and then like I'll try different angles and I'll get like it's just like like you said, they're so beautiful and they really do hold such energy. And I can't tell you how much that even healed me. It's amazing how much you just heal on your own without even realizing it. It's just like part of the process. Like to photographing help heal me, writing these books help even heal me more because you're like realizing, you're digging deeper, you're realizing, oh wow, I never thought of that before. But then when you explore it, it helps you heal on another level.
So do you take your clients through the steps on how to connect? I mean, there are many of us that don't really even understand that frequency and vibration are real
Yeah,
and why it's
yeah,
pivotal for our overall health to
yeah.
be in
I know
touch.
it's so true because like we don't realize that we're energetic beings because we feel so solid. It's like how can I be energy? And it's so funny because I actually put that in my new book about how science has found that if they take every single atom within our body, measure it, the whole every single atom, every single like locating every millions, all the millions of cells in our body, they will pinpoint all the sizes of the atoms that hold it all together. And it says that we are 99% energy and 1% matter. And for us to like wrap our brain around that, like that's impossible. How can that be? 99% energy, but it's just like it's an energetic field that's being held together. So it's just like so, fantastic when you realize that because you're realizing that's why sound healing hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. All right, we don't want anything to hurt us, but the sound healing, because that's all energy vibration, it vibrates our cells, and then the same thing with the colors. It's all vibrational frequency energies. Just by looking at it, it's like like vibrating our energy levels, and it's hard for us to understand, but it works, and that's like what I've realized over the years. I've never been to a therapist, I've never been to a psychiatrist, I've never been to a psychologist. I grew up in a time where that was kind of frowned upon. It's like, ooh, that's taboo, and it's just like, it's like, oh, like you really got mental problems if you do that. That was my life at least. So I've never been to any type of therapy. So all of this therapy has been like through healing modalities. And that, it's worked. It's worked for me. It's changed my life. And I'm not saying anything wrong with therapy because it's wonderful to be able to talk things through and just have somebody listen and not have to, comment, not have to only like give feedback. That's like really great. But I just like it was in my DNA, it's in my family line. Ooh, you can't go to therapy. And like they tell you, like suck it up, get over it. There's all these lines that are thrown at us, about like just like live with it. And it's just like, no, 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 we don't have to live with it. We have the choice. That's the thing. We always have to realize we have a choice. We have the choice to choose something better.
Well, I think that your work will really help those that are looking to really go within and return back to their authenticity. And I wondered if you'd tell us where they should go to find you, your artwork, your beautiful photos, and your offerings.
Oh, thank you. So my website is my birth name. It's just KarenCreahan.com. It has a lot of photographs to look through. There's so many. I was doing so many newsletters where I was channeling the nature angels, and they would talk about any particular flower. They would just bring a message through, ways to work with the flower, to heal from it. It's all there in the blog posts. So if anybody wants to visit my website, they can go look at the different blog posts, see the different flowers, try a meditation with the flower. And then also I did put both my books on the website. I just added them on. So if people want to like access it, it has the direct link to Amazon to where the book is. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff on my website. I try to be completely authentic. I do put my story, like I just want people to, you realize people, you want to be relatable. Like you don't want to just say, "Oh, I talked to nature angels," but no, you got to like, how did you get there? How did you get there before, you started becoming spiritual and it was all like it's really, like going all the way back, to like when you first incarnate onto this planet. So yeah, I'm really happy to be on this path because if I wasn't, I would be so miserable. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Well, I really am glad you woke up and you're trudging along, leading the rest of us. And you emanate so much light and so
Uh,
much presence. So thank you for gifting us with your time here today.
well, thank you, Susan, for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it.